This is the next part of our video on factoring by decomposition with negative numbers. So I did ask you to take a minute and try E, F, G, and H on your own. So we are just going to check in. So for E, the numbers I chose were positive 10 and negative 3. Does not matter which one you wrote down first. All right, F, I did negative 4 and negative 5, or negative 5 and negative 4. The order doesn't matter. For G, negative 1, negative 8. And then for H, negative 9, positive 6. Okay, so we're now going to take that skill that we just practiced and put it into use by doing some actual factoring. So it says factor each of the following, and my equation here, or expression, is 4x squared plus 12x take away 7. So this has three terms. There's an x squared, an x, and a number, right? That follows the right format for us to factor by decomposition. Now, when we factor by decomposition, we take our middle term, 12x, and we try to decompose it into the two numbers that I would have added together or subtracted to get 12x. So we're trying to find those like terms that we used to come up with that expression. All right, so in order to help us figure that out, there is a clue hiding in the question, and that is the first number and the last number. So 4 and negative 7, you do have to include the sign. We're going to take those and multiply them together. So 4 times negative 7 is negative 28. So we are looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 28. That's the clue to help us. And we'll replace the 12x. So they either added or subtracted to 12. So we focus on the multiplying part. We want to try to find things that multiply to 28. So I know 1 and 28, even though I don't see it on my multiplication grid, always work, but they do not add or subtract to 12. So I'm going to look for other 28s. I see one here. That is 14 times 2. Out of a 14 and a 2, I can add them to get 16, or I can subtract them to get 12. We're looking for 12. That's perfect. All right, so that is 14 and 2. Now, in order for us to make that a 12, I had to subtract, and because it's positive, that means the bigger of the two numbers is going to be positive and the other one is going to be the subtract. So this is going to be positive 14 and negative 2, and then just to check, 14 times negative 2 is negative 28. So you always want to make sure that the signs still work out on the multiplying. All right, so what this means is we are going to take out the 12x and replace it with two terms of 14x and a minus 2x. Now, it doesn't matter which one you put first, but I like to try to put something that I think would factor nicely with the 4, and then put something with the 7 that I think would work out nicely with that. So I think I might put the minus 2 with the 4x squared, and then I might put the 14 with the minus 7. So I have 4x squared minus 2, oh, I wrote wrong, it's not supposed to be squared, so it's just minus 2x plus 14x minus 7. So I just took out the 12x and I put in minus 2x plus 14x. All right, and then from here, we group. So we're going to put together the first two terms, the last two terms, and we are going to common factor out what they have in common. So looking just at the first two terms, the 4x squared minus 2x. First, I focus on the 4 and the 2. I can use my multiplication grid to help me with this. I see that 4 and 2 both divide by 1. They also both divide by 2, and then I don't see them both show up again after that. So I'm going to say their greatest factor here is 2. And they do also both have an x, so I can factor out an x. We're trying to make a multiplication question here that gives me 4x squared minus 2x as my answer. All right, to figure out the bracket, we are going to divide 4x squared by 2x. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then x squared divided by x, this is 2 x's being multiplied together. We're taking one of them out by dividing. So I need one still left behind. Then we're going to divide negative 2x by 2x. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. And then x divided by x. I had one x that we were multiplying by. I've taken one out, so there are no x's left. All right. The sign always comes from what's in between the two pairs, so this is a plus. And then we're going to look at 14x minus 7. And I want to try to figure out what they have in common. So I start with the numbers, 14 and 7. 14 and 7 both show up in the row for 1. They also both divide by 7. And then that's the last place I see them. So I'm going to say their greatest common factor, 7. So I'm going to put a 7 out front. They don't both have x's, so we're not taking out an x. All right, then I just need to divide. We are dividing by positive 7. So 14 divided by 7 is 2. And then this had an x. We didn't do anything with it, so it still has an x. And then negative 7 divided by positive 7 is negative 1. And at this point, we should see that those two brackets match. And if they don't, we have done something wrong. All right, so since those two brackets are the same, that tells me that my original multiplication question had a bracket of 2x minus 1 that we were multiplying by. What were we multiplying by? Well, 2x and 7. So my final answer is 2x plus 7 times 2x minus 1. If we had put the minus 2x and the 14x in the opposite order, we would still get the same brackets. It's just the brackets would be in the opposite order. You would have 2x minus 1 times 2x plus 7. All right, I will see you in the next video to do example B.